what I want to bring to you this morning real quick is last year I added a roller coaster, and I had a great year with my games. So I wanted to just kind of show you what was happening with Barrymore's. It'll take about 5 minutes, but it's some pretty good information. So continuing to share information is the most important thing that this room brings. And you all know that I put this picture up here just because it makes me feel cool. That's it. But my roller coaster was a nice addition. We increased the sales $800,000 last year. Some of it was the roller coaster, some the arcade, some the concession, some was in the bar, the go-karts. It spread out all over. I was hoping for $1 million. I invested $1.05 million into the roller coaster. We bought a used one, rehabbed it, refurbished it, but it was a blast to do. Now, Barrymore's, in 2008, we added the bowling alley, and when we put in the AMF lanes, it transformed the whole company, and that was the start of when we took off and went. We gave the place a new look with the bowling alley. The leather couches, the tin ceiling, the brick walls, a lot of dark wood. And when we did that, we realized that we're no longer a tacky little go-kart track operation. So we started changing the whole complex. And we added things like fireplaces, remodeled the bar, remodeled the entranceway, remodeled the service facilities, the concession stand. And all of it started changing our business model, and we kept taking it farther and farther. So then last year, we were lucky enough to find a pretty good deal on a roller coaster, and I wanted the roller coaster to just give us a different level. The newspapers came out, and honest to God, we got a couple $100,000 worth of free advertising. The TVs came out and did 2- and 3-minute spreads. The radios came out and wrote it, and they would do their live blogs and all of the things that they do. So it was something that we didn't even count on, was all the free advertising that we received. So it really gave us a big boost, and we think a lot of it's going to carry over this year, so the boost will be even stronger. It is an expensive project. We lit it all up so it's got a really cool look at nighttime. It was probably one of the most exciting things that we did, but we also got an education because we now stock about $100,000 in spare parts. And so some of the testing and the training and the retraining and the retesting every year, we didn't quite know all those details when we started. So we did spend a few extra bucks on this thing that we didn't plan, but I'm glad we did it. I only budgeted $600,000 or $700,000. Mike Carnes, when he was with the bank, he financed it for me. And then after he left, when I spent $1.05 million, we had to cough that up out of our pocket, so that wasn't too exciting. We didn't want to go back to the bank and ask them for any more money. So this picture here is a pretty cool one. This is when it's coming down the main hill right there, and this is just before the first crash. Larry, you looked up. It wasn't that bad of a crash, though. We put in last fall the Soaring Eagle, and I'm pretty excited about this now. It took us a couple years to do it. Logan bothered me on the phone probably 30, 40, 50 times with emails and phone calls. You're going to do it, you're going to do it. And I was lucky enough to find guys all over the country that gave me information on the zip line. Daryl Henley was really probably one of the biggest guys that shared information with me down there at Parakeet Pete's, and that's where I learned the most about it. But he also shared financial information. I had a guy out of Boondocks give me financial information, a guy on the East Coast. So when they tell you the kind of money it does, it didn't make it so scary. So I think it's going to do $250,000, but what we learned during the practice runs, that it's the height of this thing that is the hype for the ride. It's not the ride itself. Everybody we took on it, they loved the ride, but when they got to the top, it scared the shit out of them. So the excitement level and the adrenaline level was always at the top, people yelling and screaming. So I think it's going to have a dynamite year. I spent about $400,000 on it, but it was worth every penny. The arcade, I'm just really big on the arcade business right now. I think it's the most exciting industry that we have as a whole, and the amount of money that has changed in Barrymore's operation in the last 5 years has been really, really significant. 5 years ago, we did $650,000. This coming year, I'm going to show you the projections on our games for this year. The arcade's going to do $3.3 million bucks, and that is just really thrilling. But now, if you would have told us a couple years ago we were going to hit 2 million, we would have said you were crazy. But now we're at 3.3 going, we think we got a shot at $4 million because there's so much exciting things happening in the game industry. And the way I'm looking at it's a little bit different. We look at this as a bank of games, and we call this one game when we're looking at the number 210,000. It did 210,000 last year, and I think it's going to do 210,000 this year. The E-Lock cranes are really good looking, and they just never break down. They're just giant workhorses. Of course, my main man, Stinky Feet, we pegged him in at 180,000 bucks this year. So I paid 62,000. Talk to Ron about it. You'll get a great deal on that. But if I did 164,000 last year in 10 months. If it does 180 or 170 or 150 or whatever, that's 300,000 plus in 2 years on a $62,000 investment. Even I can make money doing that. The extreme crane that came out just blew us away. We had pegged this at maybe doing $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. It's going to do 170,000 bucks on a $26,000 investment from E-Lot. And we put those big giant balls in there. People win all the time, but there's a lineup on Saturdays to play this giant crane. My main man, Big Bass. I have loved Big Bass. Holly built Big Bass just for me at Baytech. I've been talking about Big Bass since about 2010. I've absolutely loved this game. Big Bass topped $1.1 million last year for the bank. 140,000, and this game has got to be 6, 7 years old, easy. So we're pretty excited. George told me to buy a bank of 3. I bought a bank of 4, but now it's turned out to be a pretty good move. Zombie Snatcher, the new one by Ice, it's going to do 80,000 bucks this year. It's fantastic money. And then the Hotshot Basketball, my guys didn't even want me to buy this thing 3 years ago. First year it did 48, second year 56. This year it's going to do 65. This is just an outstanding piece because it's a totally different player that's in the room. The guys that won't play anything in the arcade will play this game here. All right, here's my top 20 games. The cranes, 210, Stinky Feet, Extreme Crane, and then Wizard of Oz is at $150. Wizard of Oz is just incredible. All right, Big Bass, $140. Blackbeard's Bounty. The numbers are missing. Blackbeard did 90,000, is going to do 90,000 to 100,000. Giant Keymaster's 100,000. Zombie Snatcher, I said 80,000. Hotshot Basketball is at 65,000, so something happened to the deck here a little bit. I banked the 4 players by Ice, the ski balls, and that bank will do $65,000, which is huge money, but it's a beautiful piece that Ice put together. Fishbowl Frenzy. We did a 2 bank because we liked the look of the 2-player instead of a 1. 60,000 there. Monster Drop Extreme, 60,000, and that game's got to be 6, 7 years old, and it's consistently 40, 50, 60, 70,000 bucks. Jurassic Park, $60,000. This is the old original Zombie Snatcher. I can't sell it because it's doing 50,000, so I'd be stupid to do that. Piano Keys is fantastic at 40,000. Laser Frenzy is still at 40,000, which is unbelievable. And I wrote the wrong name for Studio Deluxe, so sorry about that, Alan. I didn't catch the mistake there. But it's going to do at least 40,000. We didn't get it in until May or June last year, but I'm thinking 50,000, 60,000, but I plugged it in at 40 just to be safe because I'm just not quite sure. But this is probably the best photo machine out there, and the money it's going to generate is unbelievable. The Player's Hook is by Eunice, and Deb sold me this for 3, 4 years ago, and this dumb game was like $10,000, and it's doing 40,000. It's been in the 40s every year we've had it, and of course, the game that George chastises me on all the time is Star Wars. When I bought the first one, he told me I was stupid, so I went and bought a second one to prove him wrong. All right?
Wait. $40,000, is that real?
Well, now you know I'm lying. So I told him this morning, I said, I put it in at 40,000, but I only did that to just piss you off, but I'm lying about it. So I bought a second one for 12,000, so now I got 42,000 into these games. They're really going to do...
So what's
I don't know who Roy is. All right? But I love the look of Star Wars. And it brings in them 35-year-old dads that won't play anybody in the place. And I just can't admit defeat to George. So I will lie about this game forever. All right? It will do 22,000 combined between the two. So in 6 years, I will have all my money back. Those top 20 games, $1.8 million this year. We're so excited about the game industry. We bought Triotech's Dark Ride. That goes in on March 6th. We're pegging that at least $250,000. It's a $300,000-$400,000 piece, but I'm really excited about this one. And 5 guys around the country, I called them. They all had it. Rusty and Bucky helped me. The guys from Funplex helped me. Doug Godley at Frankie's. Every one of those guys gave me the numbers that it did. So it made it very, very unscary. And they were all told me, you know, 300,000, 400,000, 500. When somebody tells you cash money, it makes it so simple to make a decision. And we still looked at this for 2 years. We're not the fastest guys, nor are we the sharpest guys. All right, $3.3 million. We are thrilled about the game industry. So I'm telling you, if you got a good size arcade, it's a great place to invest your money this year. That's it.
Okay, we wanted to have any questions. We're going to have a day with some more dialogue and everything. You got some great presentations that's there. Somebody said to me this morning that we needed more time for questions and or some chance for all of you to do. In the arcade, go ahead, sir.
Just what your attendance is.
Rick, George.
How numbers translate for the number of people that come in here.
We got like a bunch of people coming all the time. We don't have a clicker at the front door. We're not that smart. You know, we're probably 300,000-400,000 people right in that ballpark.
Any games that we've been talking? Go ahead, John.
Rick, what did the roller coaster and the zip line do to your insurance cost?
Well, I have Haas Wilkerson, so I always negotiate the price first. They give me 3 years of the same price, and then I go buy something and call them up and tell them I'm adding something, but you can't add nothing to it because you already gave me the quote. So they only increased my my policy a few $1,000 on the roller coaster. And when I asked Doug Flora about it, he said, nobody ever dies on a roller coaster. So it's probably one of the easiest, cheapest things to insure. So we were extremely caught by surprise on that, because I would have thought it would have been 10, 20, 30,000 extra.
Come on, sit up here.
Who said that?
So I asked these guys to
Now,
talk
Doug,
a little
we
bit
have
about...
a 3-year contract. I mean, Tim.
talk about a little bit about inspiration and motivation, and I want you guys to get in and ask them anything. I mean, this is truly your opportunity to ask Rick about big boy pants, you know, I mean, which he always accuses everybody in the room of not having. Okay?
He finally stepped up this year.
And invested in a roller coaster, and
Yeah,
George,
why a roller coaster?
you know, took the leap with VR. So I just want you to listen to some of this dialogue, and please don't hesitate to kind of interrupt and interject from the room.
The roller coaster was just cool looking, and I like to be cool. So when we looked at it, we always saved that spot in the back of the property. We were going to put a wild mouse back there. But when we start trying to find a wild mouse, the price on a used wild mouse was $1 million, $1.1 million. A new one's $1.5 million, $1.7 million, plus. So this one came along. We got a great buy on it. We bought it from Castaway Cove. And then we were able to really, really do a nice job with it, repaint it, re-electrify it, do all the lighting and the sidewalks and the fencing. So it turned out fantastic.
What was your original budget on it?
$350,000 in painting and repairs, plus the cost of the roller coaster. $600,000 was the original budget, but we only missed it by $450,000.
So how'd that make you feel when you're what? Help me with the math here. You know, you're about 60% over.
That's pretty close.
Yep.
When you're 60% over at our place, it's not bad because we're usually 75%. So we have never hit a budget in 20 years, you guys. I don't care what it is. Whatever we build, whatever we do, once you get into a project, you're screwed because you go around and you see all this good stuff, and by the time you start traveling and looking and thinking, you've already set your budget, and then you see all these other things, and what happens is you change. And you say, like the fence we put around it, it came with a cheapo little fence, but as soon as you look at the fence, you go, oh, that's a real piece of shit. I can't put that up there. So then we go out and we buy this sound-absorbing fence, and it costs, $25,000, $30,000 plus installation, and you just get stuck adding it on there. But our theory is once you're in a project, do it right. And if you run out of money, call somebody like Firestone, call your banker, and just plead stupidity.
So then you double down. So you got a coaster here, you've gone, it's cooler than crap, and you say, I got to be cooler, so I'm going to go, you got a size problem there, so you have to go taller, right? So you come up with the Checkets. Tell us the story about how'd you get the
Jeff
screaming?
Benson had the size problem last night. You guys remember that? Happy to help, Jeff. It was the lips part that got me nervous.
So why'd you double down and go for Screaming Eagle?
Well, I started looking at the Soaring Eagle 2-3 years ago. We first rode it at IAPA, thought it was pretty cool, and then Craig bought one. Craig from Craig's Cruisers, Jeff's guys, they put one in. So I was glad to see they put it in because you always want somebody to be the guinea pig. I don't ever want to be first. I want to be like 10th. So Craig put it in and we went over and rode it. And my wife, who hates all kinds of rides, she said, I'm not going on that. She looks at it, she goes, oh, I'll ride that. So we get up there, we get up to the top, and it's absolutely beautiful. It overlooks the sand dunes at Lake Michigan. So we rode it a bunch of times, and it was just a great, fun ride. So we stood there for 2 or 3 hours at Craig's place, and all the people riding it, young people, old people, it was just unbelievable, the amount of variety of people. You see grandkids, and then we saw people 60, 70, 80 years old, your age, up there riding this thing. So it made it exciting. We went out to Utah, we tested it out, we went and talked to, called the guys around the country, went down to Parakeet Peaks. We really did our homework. So doing our homework was probably the most exciting thing. But when you do your homework, you change the project. We budgeted $250, we ended up at $420. So we were close.
Not too far off, not too far off. No, it's an industry. One of the things we keep saying back and forth, for those of you that are new and those who have been around, the best information is right here. It's your friends and neighbors that are just going to tell you what the numbers are.
Jeff, what you got?
Yeah,
Jeff
Rick,
Cooey, I want you to know his cousin is Felton.
Thank you, Eric. Jeff Cooey, Sparkles Family Fun Center here in Atlanta. My question is for you on the old zombie snatcher of the playing field. What kind of product are you putting on there? Mine is kind of getting stale, kind of some of the product that you're using that's making the most money for you right now.
The product on which?
The product on the playing field that they're winning right now.
On the zombie
The
snatcher?
prizes and stuff, yeah, on the zombie snatchers.
Well, Zombie Snatcher's got those, its tickets on the automatic cups for the brand new one that iced it is fantastic because it automatically reloads. And it's got like 50s and 100s and 500s, and you can put anything in there all the way up to 2,000 or 5,000. So it really increases the excitement to play that one. And then on the other ones, we kind of made our ticket packages and ticket stacks. And then we would put numbers on them like 250, 300, and they'd knock the actual tickets. But the key to the Zombie Snatcher, the first year or two I had it, it wasn't doing that good. It was only doing like 20 grand. So I catch up to Todd Steemack, who made the game, and I said, Todd, my game's not doing very good. And he says, you have to load the playing field. You have to pack it full. I said, okay, well, why didn't you tell me that when I bought it? I mean, that was bullshit. So I go back, I load it, I pack the field. It does $60,000 that year. So knowing the connections of who to talk to and how to run the game is just as important as buying the game. It's like with Stinky Feet. I asked George, George was the first guy I called when we thought we were going to buy it. And I sent him a text and I said, should I buy Stinky Feet? It's going to cost me this, and they're going to do this, and they're going to give me the money, and I don't got to pay for it. And he said, if I don't like it, I sent him this big, long note. He sends me back, buy it. 2 words, just buy it. That was it. So I bought it. But Ron told me, he took me aside, he said, I'm going to tell you something. Do not change the way I'm going to tell you to operate this game. Don't change the tickets. Don't change the prizes. Don't do anything different than what I tell you. or you'll screw it up and you'll never make the money. So I said, okay. So he did it exactly the way Ron said, and the thing did 164,000 bucks. So sometimes you got to listen to the guys that know what it is.
Happens once in a while.
Hey, Rick, on the zip line, what's the length, the height? What do you charge per ride? And is the company here that you bought it from?
He's talking
Steve.
about the zip line. He's talking about the zip line. Okay, sorry.
All right, that's Steve Rigby, you guys. He's got that cool joint. It's 120 feet tall. Ours is 670 feet long. You can get them like 700 feet, 600 feet, 500 feet. It goes over the go-kart tracks and over the rock wall, so it's got a really cool place. It ends up back by the batting cages and the roller coaster. But the height, the pole we put right up by the highway, and then we lit it up in blue. So the pole coming down the highway is just this big monstrous sign. We're only going to charge $7. We're kind of cheap at our place. A lot of guys charge 8, 9, 10, 12, 15, but we per seat. And we think and we're putting it into our packages. So we think our theory is going to be on this is just keep it running all the time. We just want to see the action going with it all the time. We don't think we can get 8 or 9 or $10. So we're just kind of going with what our market is.
How long's the ride from one into the other?
Oh, it's only like 30 seconds long. I mean, it is really, really fast. It pulls you back up there in 6, 7, 8 seconds. And I don't even know all the details. I'd have to tell you to ask Logan.
Rick, what's your feeling on these escape rooms?
You know, Larry, I haven't really studied the escape rooms. I know George has studied those a lot, and George has got a couple of them. And there's, you know, a lot of guys out there starting to do it and doing it. You heard Neil Hupfauer is really studying it a lot. You know, I'm not into it. I don't know it yet, but George does.
We, for the last year and a half, we've been looking at this for 2 years. We're trying to take a look at escape rooms. And, you know, probably 6, 7 years ago, there was, I think, 100. There are now over 3,000 escape rooms around the world. So the problem we had is we don't like to be last to market. We don't necessarily want to be first to market that's there. And it's all gradations. There's, you know, what we've seen is people that are doing it from back of house stuff, just barely cobbling the stuff together. And some people are making good returns by doing that. And most people are fly by night on this kind of stuff, and that really wasn't us. We've gone out, there's several people that have gone, what's the place up in New York that we looked at first? Nitwits? Five Wits. Five Wits, if you've been to a Five Wits, it's just a beautiful installation. Expensive, though, really expensive. They're putting them in malls and doing great things. I know Creative Works came out. We looked at their property this year, and we thought that they really are on something with what they're doing. We went around, and I think I've heard it said that, I think the guys from Synergy were saying they went to 100 different places that's there. We were similar. Our guys were going all around the country to try and decide this. We have come back, and we're going to try a different take on it, and it's, he says we've got a couple of them. We have a couple of them in process. They were supposed to be opened already, but they'll be open within the next couple of weeks. We have something we built ourselves called Anubis Adventure, and we're trying to make it an escape adventure rather than an escape room. And the point being that one of the problems you have is typically an escape room, as many of you may know, is a half hour, 45 minutes, or typically an hour. You get 6 to 10 of your best friends, or you mix it together. You have the escape room thing, go in and solve the puzzles and come out there. And, you know, if it's really done well, you're at, 59.5 minutes and you're almost there. And if you'd only had another minute, you would have made it, and that's the hook to get you back again. For us, it's a problem because we were in a lot of transient places and going through there. So we're going to try and decide. We moved it away. So we built a 3-room attraction that you go from one to the other, and so we can move through. And we think we can do 24 people in through a 30-minute process that's there altogether. 15 minutes per room that's there, and just keep moving people know. Maybe we can get the attendance up substantially. So we're going to open those up at the Kalahari's in the Poconos and in the Wisconsin Dells. And we're excited about it because one of the trends that we see happening is it's becoming a much more social world. We've heard that yesterday and everything that's there. And for the millennials in the events, we're looking for things that we can afford to do, afford to change out, because I think that's one of the things that we like about amusement equipment is you can change it. The investment you can put in, you can pull it out. There's other things you can do. If you put in zip lines or roller coasters, you better hope you've done an awful lot of homework that's there because you're going to be with that. The escape rooms, or escape adventures as we're calling ours, we think are changeable, but it's got to be different. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want to differentiate, so ours is going to be substantially different. Along the same lines, we'll touch on and go from there, because we're the guys from ZL, Zero Latency. Where are they? David and they're all the way in the back. So one of the other emerging trends going on, the social thing, is we are looking for something, how do we attract in the game space and the adventure what seems to be emerging. We want people to come together, we want them to have something, and then we want them to talk about it. And if we've done it well, we want them to then drink and eat and do the other things. The go-kart people do this hugely well. There's a lot of other attractions that get you as a group together and you talk. Those are people that have gone to Andretti's. I think they got it spot on, where they get together and it's sociable and a drink and everything. And so we saw Zero Latency, and we have bought into two, where we've opened up the second and now the third Zero Latency in the United States. And we are cautiously optimistic. We have spent a ton of money on it that's there.
What's the ROI?
What's that?
What's the ROI?
Right now it's negative. ROI is negative. Is Kevin Bacchus here today? Kevin, last fall, he was giving a speech at the AAMA, and he was talking about things that Dave & Buster's was looking at and going from here, and here's this behemoth company that's there. And I do have him on film talking about, less than a year ago, talking about how they were looking at escape rooms and virtual reality and all the other kind of stuff. Well, of course, last fall he gets there and he says, yeah, we've looked at them, we've decided they aren't for us. So I'm puckering up, because by that time, we've already invested a huge amount of travel time and money into this one. Here's the plus side of Zero Latency. Talk to the guys here. If you haven't experienced virtual reality of any type, I think it is the emerging trend that's there. As many of us, I know George McAuliffe's here, who was front and center for 20 years ago when virtuality was the thing that was there. We believe that virtual reality is here to stay. We wanted to get in, not at the bleeding edge of it, but we'll see if that works out. But we think that immersive technology, where you get into an attraction and you are some other place, is amazing. For us, Zero Latency was the most monumental one out there. The Void, we looked at Void, which many of you may have gone to Times Square and gone to Madame Tussauds, and they have the Ghostbusters experience there. Very neat. They put through, I think I saw the numbers yesterday, 450 or 600,000 people in 6 months through there. And really, if you do the multiplication of that, in order to get into it, you really have to spend $50 to get in for a 5-minute attraction. Zero Latency, the way we're running it right now, is a 15-minute game. They have other things that are there, and I think within 6 months you'll see the full possibilities of it there. There's a 45-minute game that we went over to Australia to play, and it was just the neatest thing I've ever done in amusements, and that's what got the hook for us to do this. I'm looking at Scott. Scott is going forward, it seems, with Zero Latency. Here's what happens. Here's the good side of things. We do studies for everybody that comes out of our attractions. We are, I think, at 9.5. On a 1 to 10 scale, we ask people to just rate the attraction. We're at 9.4. These are our numbers, just on a scale. So imagine that everybody has played through Zero Latency is all above 9. We don't see that on anything. Everybody that does the experience, the hard part is trying to explain what you're about to get into. You're about to mount yourself with a pack, go through this one. Once you get in there, your heartbeat goes up. We have to have special air conditioning to cool the place down, because people sweat, they perspire in a 2,100 to 2,900 square foot arena. It's just amazing. And it's something different. And it goes to the combination, I'm droning on here, but the combination of the escape room and the Zero Latency and those types of attractions, we think, is the cutting trend here for sociability. Because once you get out of it, you want to talk about the experience you just had where you almost died. So.
My guys played it 2-3 weeks ago. They were at the ride school down there where they get all the training. They're there for a week. So they went over to Main Event and they played it. And all of my guys came out and said it was the very best game they had ever played. So if you get a chance, go to George's, go to Main Event down in Orlando, play the game, because they said the experience is absolutely unbelievable, and it is the cutting edge of the future. So we just got to kind of see where it goes to, and I'm sorry to keep you waiting back there so much. That's Ryan Wright, you guys.
Thanks. Hey guys, Ryan Wright from Zao Island. I just have a quick question about like games that are priced at $60,000. Like your guys' expertise, that's 60% of our game budget if I spend $100,000. Like, do you think it's worth it to buy one piece over buying 5, or 6, at 6, or are they really pricing those games just for the top market of places,
I would tell you to go see Marion Stark over at Live Oak. Marion, where are you at? Stand up. All right. Ryan, look how cute she is. You two would make a nice pair.
He's married. He's married. So.
Oh, you're married?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, forget it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But listen, she's still a nice girl. Don't see Mike, see her.
Yeah.
All right, she'll give you $350,000. Spend it all. Buy those games. If you don't pay it back, one repo is allowed. You'll be good.
So you've got the people from Betson, Schaefer, and Player One here who can all advise on a bunch of things. But you and I have talked about this a number of times.
Yeah.
Be consistent in purchasing every single year. Even if you don't think you need to, you buy something new every year. It's like a movie theater that doesn't re-equip. And figure out your budget and then keep doing it. And that's why he's finally, if he could figure out Roy, and he doesn't make this Star Wars thing, he'd have an extra $40,000 to spend. It's how you spend the money for your own return.
Okay, quick last question. Like, do you think it just makes sense for everybody then to get the nicest games that are out there? Like
No,
go
no.
all in? No?
You have to have a plan.
Yeah.
George taught me, you've got to have a plan. You got to figure out, how much you can spend and where you're going to go. And every year, I like to buy in a package. I like to buy 5 or 10 games at a crack because then I can see the jump.
Yeah.
So if you can afford it, say you buy $250,000 worth of games and you plan on those increasing your gross $300,000. Well, you got to wait till the end of the year. If you increased your gross $300,000, then you know the business and you know what you're doing. Do the same thing next year. Pick a number that you're comfortable with. If you paid off the $250,000, go with it. If the next year, if you still owe $125,000, well, then you really can't afford to add debt upon debt upon debt. So all you do is say, okay, well, next year we'll buy $100,000, but we hope it'll take our gross up another $100,000. If your gross does not go up in the arcade, then you're doing something wrong. You can't buy and trade dollars. You have to see the money rise. And that's what he taught me is to make that thing grow. So remember, we went from $650,000 to $3 million, but every single year we saw the jump.
Okay, thanks.
Suzanne.
Was that because you bought additional games? I mean, the arcade is always the push. Should we buy the hottest stinky feet out there? And will it just cannibalize for my Down the Clown and my Big Bass? Will I really see the jump? If you buy 5 at a time, possibly, but I don't have any more foot space. So is this swapping out because the newness? I don't know if it's bringing more people in. I don't know if I'm just trading dollars and having a really cool room in. I don't see where the bigger games bring more money. They just take it from my little crappy games.
Ron Mogerman's in the back of the house. So something that he has always said, you're always working on the bottom 10%. There's always a bottom 10%. So if you're always working on that and getting rid of that, it will make yourself healthy. But in the last few years, you've had returns like we have never had in the industry before. If you bought a Big Bass 6 years ago, that's there. You paid for it in the first 6 months, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. If you bought one, that was probably a really good thing. If you bought 2 and you have the space, it's not that it's going to do necessarily the exact same number, but it is, we found, incremental sales. You are pushing it up. But you have to have a qualitative difference. If you have a house full of 50% crappy old games that's there, the customers are still perceiving that's 50% crappy old games. And maybe you can't do it at once, but at some point you got to make a stand and say, I'm going to be in the arcade business, I'm going to be the best I can be, and all these manufacturers have made it easy for us to do it.
Yeah, Brian Langston from the Castle Fund Center in Chester, New York. Just wondering if you could share with us the size of your arcade, your facility, and the amount of games you have in total in that area.
We're pretty lucky we added on a 6,000 square foot addition to the arcade. So we have 10,000 square feet in the arcade, and we're about 125 games right now, and we're bringing in this big monster trial check in a couple weeks, the XD Dark Ride, and we'll probably still have room for maybe another 10, 12, 15 games. So if you're limited by space, you do have a problem. But the first thing George taught me years ago, he said 50% of the stuff you have in this room is crap. Put it in the dumpster. So even if it's going to hurt your feelings, it was the best advice we ever had. So if you can walk through your arcade and just go, this is crap, 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 you got to change. You got to get that stuff out of there because it brings your whole arcade down. Brian.
What percentage of rooms should be redemption versus arcade?
You know, this has got to be one of the biggest arcade guys in the country, and he's asking me a question. Brian is circus.
Because I don't understand the arcade side of it. I understand the redemption side real well, but it.
Well, you know, you had a real different view of things from the largest grossing operator in the United States, and their view is they have a limited number, actually they more limited than I thought, of redemption pieces, extremely limited on instant win, and a huge number of video and play games that are there because they're making it up in other ways. For us, we are centric, and as I said yesterday, we really like, by numbers of, what I was quoting yesterday in terms of what we are taking out of the game room, Mike Apicassis is around here, a few other guys, we're taking probably about 25% out from instant win right now because of the ticket time cranes, because of all the other great pieces that are out there. But by count, it's probably 15 to 17% for us. On the video side of things, we are probably less than 10% by count, although we're trying to increase that right now. The rest is redemption. And redemption it's changed our business so much in the last 20 years. Those have been around. David, it's been a monumental change from what we used to do. It used to be a video room, pinball, that was it. Think of where we are right now. That redemption was a painful evolutionary thing that was there. We used to be giving away stuff that was absolutely worthless, and we're still living by that. Everybody has that mantra of, oh, a spider ring, you know, and that's the problem that's there. But we believe, honestly, we're in the retail business. We're going to talk about it a little bit this afternoon. That's what's separating us right now, and so you got to get good as a retailer, and that's how you beat things.
We're extremely heavy in redemption, so we're backing down our redemption a little bit right now. We're trying to increase the video, so we want the video to get up to 20-25%. The merchandisers are still probably 20%. They're a huge piece in the instant wins with the cranes. So you got to go by your customer and what your customer wants. So we're seeing a little bit more requesting for the video.
One more over here, guys.
Chris Camp from Fun for All. So Rick, sounds like you plan things out really well. So we also just bought the Dark Ride. What is your plan for it? Is it centerpiece? Do you have it? Like, where are you putting it in your location?
It's going all the way in the far back corner of the arcade. I would love to have it be a centerpiece. We're going to add another addition over the next couple of years, and we're even talking already about moving it as a centerpiece in part of the new building because we think it can be an attraction. Right now we're considering it more like a video game or a piece to the video game room, but I really think it can be an attraction.
Agreed. Another question still on your roller coaster. When you did that, obviously you have go-karts, you have a maintenance team. Did you have to beef that up? Did they have to get certified a different way because of those attractions?
Yeah, we had to send our guys, we sent four guys down to the school in Orlando, the two different schools that are down there. And, you know, it's expensive, but you got to do it, and they got to be certified. The state controls it. You got to be licensed, and it's a big process. But what it did is it took the whole level of the safety of our complete operation and all of our maintenance to a new level. My guys are now doing all their stuff on iPads. They're doing inspections on iPads. So it has taught us a lot. We just kept the same team. I got a real good group of guys, and they did the training and the certification. They're all certified.
Move on. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. That was great.